Marcia Fudge's lived experience tells her that there is racism in home appraisals. But there's still no data on that. There's no evidence whatsoever. It is at this point completely made up.
Okay, so we're gonna gloss over him like sneeringly talking about people's lived experience as if that's not a thing. That is Tucker Carlson saying that the idea that there is racism in home appraisals is made up. There's no data. And if there were, Tucker would know, because Tucker, of course, who has since been fired, that's fun. I just want to keep saying that. Has a full production team. He has multiple producers. They wouldn't type that sentence into his teleprompter unless they had looked and there was nothing. And so obviously they didn't find, for instance, this Brookings research that found that there is pervasive racism in home appraisals. They found that homes in black neighborhoods are valued roughly 21% to 23% below what their valuations would be in non-black neighborhoods. Neighborhoods with a majority of Latino or Hispanic, Asian American, or white residents do not experience home price devaluation using the same model. Adjusting for characteristics of homes and neighborhoods, they found that appraisal transactions in majority black neighborhoods are 1.9 times more likely to be appraised under the contract price than homes in majority white neighborhoods. Specifically, an additional 6% of homes in black neighborhoods are underappraised relative to non-black neighborhoods. So that is data. Just to be clear, that study didn't come out 15 minutes ago. It's been out there. Everybody knows about this, particularly people in the news. So why would Tucker Carlson be so willingly lying about the presence of structural financial racism? What do you think, Francesca?
Cause he just bought his neighbor's house for $5.5 million. I don't know. Because he's a white nationalist.
That may be it. That may be it. By the way, it was
Marcia Fudge is black.
She is. That's probably weighing in here. Apparently, so I vaguely remember a couple years ago, John Oliver did a show on housing discrimination. I believe this was a part of that, the appraisal. By the way, there's been major lawsuits. I want to give you an example of how strong this effect can be, because you hear things like 21%. You don't necessarily think that is financially crushing to a person.
Yes.
To lose $100,000, $50,000, that is the difference between the future working and not. So here is an instance. Paul Aston and Tanisha Tate Austin sued and settled a lawsuit against their real estate appraiser, her company, and the company that hired her for allegedly undervaluing their home based on their race. So they hired Jeanette Miller, the lender did, to inspect the home and come up with a new valuation that would determine whether or not the Austins would qualify for a loan. Miller's appraisal concluded that the market value of the home at that time was $995,000. So this time, the couple decided to, in their words, whitewash the house. They removed family photos and artwork, books, hair products, anything else that might indicate that a black family lived there. They also asked a white friend to be present at the house and greet the appraiser as if she were the homeowner and display some of her family photos in the house. The new appraiser concluded the house was worth $1.48 million, nearly $500,000 more than Miller's estimated value. But it's just made up, everyone. Tucker, he's a serious newsman. He doesn't routinely lie to his audience. And by the way, you might think that him pretending that this racism doesn't exist is the worst that this could be, that's why we're focusing on this. No, it actually gets worse than that. Take a look at what he did to distract from the racism that actually exists.
We're just gonna brainwash the home appraisers. We're gonna put them in bias training. Really, if you wanted more black home appraisers, why wouldn't you start a program to train them? No, the only job training program this administration has gotten behind in 2.5 years is getting black people to sell more weed in the cities, literally. We're legalizing weed, and we're gonna make sure the weed dispensaries have African-American owners. They're not training any black people to be home appraisers. And by the way, the premise of this is itself unproven. That home appraisers are racist? Why do we think that? Again, there's zero evidence of that. It's a slur upon home appraisers, by the way. Why do they deserve this abuse? Well, they don't. They're not hurting anyone. They're accountant types. Why is the administration calling them racist?
Again, we've already demonstrated that it is pervasive. Some of the individual instances are absolutely devastating, but it is pervasive across the country. And so he is there as like a shining example of white mediocrity to deny that the racism exists and then to distract from it with a racist attack against black people. All they care to do is to sell weed. He's referencing there that some people think that considering there have been literally decades of black people being locked up for selling whatever, for selling drugs, like having much worse penalties and much more likely to go to jail, that maybe when it's legalized, there should be a bit of equity in that. So he turns around that to say they wouldn't want to learn anything else because all they know and care about is selling drugs. It's really a shame, Francesca, that he got fired.
Yeah, oh, poor baby. I mean, good riddance. It's gonna be somebody else, but no one who can do it with the kind of sickly, disgusting, just like dripping disdain and hatred of the other, and of the idea that we have racial inequity in this country, which is so obvious, and you know it's obvious because he's tripping over himself to tell you that it doesn't exist, which is kind of a clue that it absolutely does exist. And it's kind of the way that, you know, what I hate about neoliberal, right? The term neoliberal only really gets used when it's Democrats. But remember that Republicans are crazy neoliberals as well, except they have also an added like open racism. But the idea that like Republicans relish, the way neoliberals relish, the way all sort of elites relish in the idea that black people's homes are undervalued, which then ripens a neighborhood for gentrification and pushing people out of their homes, then flipping the homes, selling it for way more than it actually, or that what it actually is worth to a white family, thereby increasing again the displacement of people of color. Like he's on board with that, but he's using just, oh, boo-hoo, there's racism. No, there's not. He's using that instead of like well, you know, we just wanted to spruce up the neighborhood. You know, it's the same, it's the two sides of the same coin. But yeah, it's pretty disgusting. I mean, that example, what more do you need? I mean, what more do you need? You could take that example of replacing like photos of a black family with a white family. You could also go to a Walgreens and wonder why black hair products are locked up behind lock and key, and white hair products or other hair products aren't.
Yeah, I want everyone, as we transition to our break, to think about if a study came out that showed that white houses were devalued 22%, would Tucker Carlson ever talk about anything else?
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.